We've shed 10% of our audience for speaking our minds, but it's part of the game, isn't it? As you get older, when you turn 35, you just want to say things.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, not from the Abroad in Japan studio. And we're joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Dawson himself. Pete, how you doing? What's going on?
Yes, I am going to treat you, Chris, in the sort of manner that my daughter treats me when I'm hungover. I am going to poke your eyes. I'm going to demand so much of you. I'm good, Chris. I'm having a lovely morning, having a lovely cup of coffee. I'm feeling bright, bushy-tailed and ready to face the day. Chris, do you feel the same out there in Tokyo, in your house?
So I'm not in the studio today because there's some construction work going on, but I'm a little bit hangover. I'm a little bit hungover.
A little bit hangover.
Oh God!
Look, you are doing some construction work in your liver, in your brain. There's going to be some well-meaning, but in my opinion, overly concerned people on YouTube going, "Oh, Chris, don't have a drink, don't drink, you're going to die." But this is what we Brits do. I think people need to remember that this is what we do best. We do hangovers, we do fried breakfasts, we do complaining that ants are walking too loudly in front of us, because that's what we do. We are a nation of hangover experts, or hungover experts, and Chris is just displaying our natural habitat, the hangover.
As I've gotten older, I don't drink as much, right? I think I like drinking, but I don't like the hangover bit. I don't like the next day when you sort of write it off, right? This is a sort of belated birthday drink, because obviously during my birthday I was on the road, so it was nice to hang out with some friends and have a drink, but it went too far, and then we got to do a podcast. With the worst day, what was I thinking?
Come on. A hungover podcast is... I mean, bearing in mind that I'm going to be recording a few on the road myself while I'm doing the Football Ramble tour. We're up in Manchester and Newcastle and Glasgow and stuff. And so I'm going to be doing some hungover podcasting. There's always something quite nice about a hungover podcast, because you feel a little bit cheeky. A little bit...
Cheeky.
Ooh. A little bit fruity. It adds a sort of it adds another level to a recording. I really do believe that. But
another level. It's like truth serum.
It's like truth serum. It is. You let too many things out. Do you not think that Chris is a kind of Moscow Mule, or as they say out there, Moscow Mule? It's just quite hard to order when Chris has to say it in sort of Japanese. Moscow Muru. And the problem with that drink is that it's quite a strong drink, especially in like places like America where they free pour. It can be quite strong, and if you're just drinking beer, you eventually just get bloated and tired. But with cocktails, you just constantly, it's just up and up and up. More sugar, more alcohol, and then you're doing, backflips in Shibuya in front of Hachiko.
It's one of those... I mean, to be fair, I don't think I had a single Moscow Mule last night. I drank a lot of cocktails, and somehow there was no Moscow... The drink I had that did me over involved... Have you ever had habanero whiskey? Or it's just like
I'd
bourbon.
like that, I think.
Yeah, it's called like Horse with No Name Bourbon, and it's got the most incredible bottle. It's a beautiful horse with no name. It's the most incredible branding, and... It's quite spicy.
You spent the night looking at a bottle of whiskey going, lovely horse. What a lovely horse.
Lovely old horse. Lovely
Is that
old
horse hot? Because is this horse sexy? Because I've had a few.
Anyway, you're the expert. It's usually you're the hungover one. For Pete Dawson, it was just a Tuesday, But this is a rare.
It is a rare beast, but as I said the last time I went out drinking with you, I think you said that was the last time you got Johnny hammered.
It was, yeah.
Where we were dancing in was it Club Camelot, I think, in Shibuya, a real classic. It was quite empty at the time. Yeah, I mean, like the last time you went out, you did rally the next day, and we went to watch the wrestling, and you are rallying today to do a podcast. So once again, never let it be said that Chris Broad does not perform under pressure. Pressure makes diamonds, and Chris is a diamond, and Chris is hungover. Who's hungover? Is it me? Sounds like it.
Oh God. Well, let's crack on. Hopefully, I can get through it. If I slur my words, if I say something outrageous, just know it's the alcohol. It's not me.
The alcohol.
I was happy though.
Alcohol.
I was happy though. Dave, the editor, who we all know and love, he sent me a screenshot before he went to bed last night, and he's like, "You're on the Reddit front page." I'm like, "What? What the fuck have I done?" And it was a post I made about British politics. It's kind of like called like British politics as a joke or something. The page is called British Memes. Do you know the Great British Meme page?
I do. I mean, there's very few Reddits that I actually know, and yeah, Great British Memes is it's the sort of thing that makes you happy to be British, proud.
I never heard of it until today, and now I'm at the top of the page. That's power you can't buy, Pete. The top of the Great British Meme Reddit page, and the reason I'm there is I did a rant about politics, which we do all the time on the podcast. It's our favourite thing. We've shared 10% of our audience for speaking our minds, but it's part of the game, isn't it? As you get older, when you turn 35, you just want to say things. And I saw there's some British elections, and Nigel Farage, the Reform Party, did well and got some votes. And I did a little post about that. And I basically wrote something like, what was I wrote? Number 1, spend 20 years convincing the UK to leave its biggest export market. Number 2, succeed. Number 3, UK economy loses $100 billion, £100 billion annually. Number 4, come back 10 years later, point out the wrecked economy and the road potholes. Number 5, voters go, yeah. Number 6, win elections. British politics is a comedy. And that was the post. There's a lovely photo of Nigel Farage smiling away. Was it on the podcast last week? I mentioned I met Keir Starmer, and I was at Buckingham Palace, which was very bizarre, very odd. And I literally said one thing, and I was like, watch out for Nigel Farage. And he was like, yeah, we're not worried about that. He's helping us win this election. I'm like, yeah, but long term, let's be more careful. And he was like, yeah, look, it's a table over there. And he walked off. And I was trying to tell him the secrets, Pete, the secrets to political success. He wasn't listening.
I was watching this thing where they were saying that... So, if you're unfamiliar, people from the US, we have, two major parties. You'd probably say the Conservatives, probably like a little bit like the
America,
Republicans,
right?
Yeah, a little bit like the Republicans, but not quite as right wing. We've always been quite a centre-left kind of country in our history, I suppose, and our Conservatives are probably around about where kind of a little bit right of Barack Obama, you'd probably say.
Yeah.
The Americans skew a little bit righter than us. But our left wing is very much a setup called Labour. So I made two major parties of Labour and Conservative.
I love a good listen to this all day. Pete Donaldson does politics.
There's some young,
Barack Obama, but the left.
There's some young reactionary bucks by the name. I mean, in my day, it was the Referendum Party, a referendum on Europe. It was, which I voted for when I was 18. That was my first vote, the Referendum Party, because my mum and dad, all they did was read the Daily Mail. I think it was one of the Goldsmiths funded that party. But there's always been a kind of rich history of like sort of single issue parties sort of coming through, and the Reform Party is the end, the next one after the Brexit referendum, and you kind of where the Brexit Party sort of went to with Nigel Farage and stuff. And Nigel Farage is a character who doesn't do any work. He just sort of swans around, sort of spending most of his time in Florida with Donald Trump and stuff, and doesn't really do any. He's an MP now, inexplicably got in, and he never does any bloody work. But Reform are the latest in a long list of parties who are anti-immigration and pro not much else, really. They haven't really got a plan for anything, but they hate immigration.
It's a weird thing. It's like they just point out the problems and people go, yeah, and then people go, what are you going to do to fix it? And they go, oh, I'm going to go on holiday now to Monaco. And it's like...
see ya. Oh. But that's, I mean, like these parties, they don't want it fixed. They want everything very much broken because that's how they make money. It's not an altruistic sort of mission, is it?
It's easy to point out the problems in society and get everyone riled up, right? But then not offer any tangible benefit or solution. But that's why I'm going to start a political party. I'm going to get it done.
Do it. Do it. The Hungover Chris Party.
Well, all my decisions will be made after I've had one beer and had to drink a little bit. like that
Yeah.
David Mitchell
I think
sketch.
2 beers. I think 2 beers. If everyone just had 2 beers, not fighting drunk, but just giggly drunk, 2 beers, I think is. Whenever I do like a live show, like Football Ramble, or I think I had a couple of pints before we did our show, or your show, very much in that View Cinema in Piccadilly a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
If I get up on stage, Bob Mortimer from Vic and Bob, who's a UK comedian, he very much says the perfect amount of drunk is 2 cans of Skol. So he has 2 cans of Skol before he goes on stage, and I'm exactly the same. You are giggly, you're on it, but you're not. Your mouth's not flabby. So yeah, I think everything should be sorted out with 2 pints. But they sort of said that. Reform curious Labour voters, this is getting a bit in the weeds, Reform curious Labour voters accounts something like 10% of the Labour voting public, and with the Lib Dems, a third party that
Really
sort of done anything for a very long time, it's something like 40%. So for Labour, trying to sort of be very strong on immigration, very anti-woke, in inverted commas agenda, anti-trans, all that bullshit. For them to sort of try and sort of steal back the reform voters, they're not going to get there because nobody's really curious in the Labour Party to be reform. But on the other, so what they should do is do what they're good at: be a bit more left wing, be a bit more NHS, be a bit more
drunk.
union focused and stuff. So it's an interesting political climate. It very much at this point in the party feels like 2 bald men fighting over a really crappy comb that's got no teeth in it, while other countries are sort of loading it up and making an even bigger mess of the world. So our politics always seems quite quaint because we're just this adorable tea drinking lot who can't get anything right. But we've got the law courts though. We've got if you want to sue somebody for libel, come here. We're great at that.
I guess most people, you find in most countries at the moment, a lot of people are just unhappy with politics and the way things are going down, right? It's a rare thing
disillusioned.
It's a rare thing to have somebody go, I like my leader, unless it's a country where the leader must enforce it, unless
There's
you
a
die.
lot of nostalgia for like Tony Blair of the late 90s and obviously Barack Obama of a few years ago, because they were like grown-ups and they weren't sort of they weren't online internet trolls. They seem to want to get things right a little bit. So it's an interesting time. May you live in interesting times, as they
We live
say.
in a very interesting time where the American president posted a photo of himself as a pope, literally 3 days ago.
If anybody even thought about that,
God.
that would be 3 weeks of shit they had to deal with and then a resignation. It's amazing what's happened.
It's brilliant. What a world. The president can post a pope for. Anyway, back to Japan. We're back, and we've got a story from Birkin. From the Macedonian from Norway. That's very cool. Hello, presumptuous Pete and condescending Chris. I'm not that condescending. How dare you? Don't talk to me like that. Had an unforgettable few days in Tokyo with my partner, filled with sightseeing, lovely random izakaya encounters, and Otoya food. Good choice. Otoya is amazing. Chicken, the sweet and sour chicken, delicious. The story I want to share, though, is about an exhilarating moment that happened while taking the Yamanote line. My partner was napping while I was observing the fact that we need to get off at the next station, during which time 2 lovely, petite and very old ladies found their way inside. Being a dashing gentleman, I nudged my partner to wake up so we could get up and let the old ladies sit down. As I got up and proceeded to say, dozo, please, to the woman in front of me, I felt a weird sensation in my legs. To my surprise, it was the metro starting to move, which I was completely oblivious to for some reason, as perhaps I felt like I spent a lot of time less waking my partner up than I actually did. Fight or flight instinct kicked in. My body tried to balance myself, but oh my God, no, this just gets bad. Fight or flight instinct kicked in, and my body tried to balance itself by grabbing both shoulders of the old lady, who was literally half my size, which prompted her to let out a very cartoonishly cute shriek. It was here that my actual brain kicked in, after which I promptly regained composure and guided the lady towards the seat. After a million, simasen, and bows of disgrace. Everyone sitting around us, including the old ladies and my partner, had their go at laughing to their heart's desire. Luckily, it all ended well, and the lady was very sweet about it, which thankfully has absolved me of cringing every time I think about it. We'd love to hear whether you've had a moment like this on the train. Big fan and long-time listener of the show, Birkin, the Macedonian from Norway, terrorising the elderly women of Japan by literally, that's just the the instinctual grabbing of the old woman to balance
just
herself.
just grabbing old women on a train.
No.
Wow.
Oh God.
I'm glad it ended well, but it could have ended with a custodial sentence. Just grabbing old ladies. You're supposed to respect your elders out there. I can't imagine how that's not an honorific, is it? Grabbing an old lady.
Can you imagine that in like a courtroom? Like, and then this Macedonian man from Norway grabbed me by the shoulders, and oh my God, the stories write themselves. No, I haven't done that on a train before. Neither I nor Pete have done anything quite as horrific as that I can recall. Have you done that, Pete? Have you used an old woman as a...
I've eaten some gopping bento boxes that absolutely stunk the train out, but nobody seemed to mind about that. Or those octopus and sardines God. Dried sardines in a packet from 7-Eleven. That's my form of terrorism. But no, I'm incredibly demure on the train. I won't say boo to a goose, Chris.
There's always someone on the train, isn't there? The worst thing is when you go on a bullet train, it's like a 4-hour journey, and the person next to you slowly pulls out the packet of, like, squid guts that are dried in a bag.
It may as well be a big bag of bin juice, like the garbage, the oniony juice that's at the bottom of a garbage bin.
It smells like... just absolutely horrific, and I do think there's shit. Like, it's crazy. Some places in Japan ban you from going in if you wear aftershave. It's like, okay, well, fair enough.
Right, okay.
Smells, pungency, whatever, ruins the mood. But they should also ban the bags of squid that smell like a dumpster fire. Like, don't allow it. Don't do it. No. God, I'm so traumatised by that fucking squid bag. Anyway, it's been a weird week for bullet trains and trains alike, though. What is going on in Japan? Mr. Donaldson, fill us in on snakes on a train. What a headline.
Well, I mean, you've the last minute. I thought I was going to get away with you not spoilering the news story, but at the very last moment, you managed it, and that's what you live for, innit? Japan's bullet train, Chris, are known for their efficiency and comfort, but recently, during the peak of Golden Week holidays, the Tokaido Shinkansen, Japan's busiest train route, came to a complete halt. It turned out that the power outage was caused not by Russian interference, not by just somebody getting something very wrong in the train itself, but a 1 metre long snake that had managed to climb up an electricity pole, wrap itself round an overhead power line, and shortcut the line. The incident occurred at 5:30 on May the 1st. Services between Tokyo and Osaka were brought to a standstill for over 90 minutes. Passengers reported that lights and air conditioning remained operational inside the trains, but one passenger, Satoshi Tagawa, 46, who was going back to Tokyo, he said, I use the Shinkansen several times a month, but this is the first time I've ever experienced suspensions due to a power outage. I imagine it's the first time a snake-based power outage has ever been experienced by Satoshi. But it's not the first time, Chris, that snakes, or rather reptiles, have disrupted Shinkansen services. I think we spoke about it at the time. In April of last year, a 40-centimetre snake was found inside a carriage on a Nagoya to Tokyo service, causing a 17-minute delay. You can't deny nature. Nature finds a way to get on your... Because at the end of the day, Chris, the snakes looking at a big train must be like, that's a big snake. Do you know what I mean? They must be like, well, this is where I live. This is where the big snakes are. So I'm gonna hang out with these guys. These will protect me from protect my birds or something. I don't know what eats snakes.
It is very snaky. The bullet train is very snaky. I'll give you that.
Very snaky. Yeah.
Inside the mind of a snake with Pete Donaldson. Oh, I love that train over there. I'm gonna fucking get on that. It looks like a snaky does.
Yeah. I've been hanging out with a load of draft excluders recently. That's nothing. Very, very listless.
This is one of the most bizarre things. The bullet trains are usually unstoppable, right? They're a force of nature unto themselves. You've got typhoons, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, but still the bullet trains run. That is, unless there's a snake. I'm genuinely amazed and surprised that the snake actually led to a problem. What happened to the snake last year? What did they do with it? Throw it out a window.
I don't know what they did.
Ate it.
I mean, what do you do with a snake? Like,
Send it to Okinawa.
Yeah, what do you do with a snake that's on a because you don't know where that snake got on. So you're like, well, where do we repatriate this snake from? I don't want to be a dickhead and leave him in. He'll be slithering around on his belly for ages to get back to I don't know, Sapporo.
Kyushu, yeah. Poor old snake. He wanted a quick free ride, and he ended up on the other end of Japan. Send it to Okinawa, put in some sake, drink it, job done. Habushu, good stuff. Let's not. It tastes awful. Have you ever seen a jar of habushu, the snake sake? You've seen it with your own eyes?
Only from pictures and stuff, but I think did Shaki have some? Shaki's dad had some, I think, out in Okinawa.
Yeah, so Chaki's a good Japanese friend of mine, Jackie, the YouTuber. She very kindly hosted us 2 or 3 years ago when we did Journey Across Japan in Okinawa. And we went to her parents' house, and my favourite scene in that is her dad is a prolific drinker of everything. He collects alcohol, and he has a room, and it's in the video, full to the brim with sake and wine and trinkets and gold. It's very weird. It's like the cave of Aladdin, but it's just alcohol instead of gold. And my favourite bit is we went in the room and we filmed like all the different jars and jugs and things. And there's a photo, and I'm not making this up, of Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders just there. And when we asked Jackie's dad, we're like, why is there just a photo of Colonel Sanders? He was like, he inspires me. And it's just such a random entrepreneurial figure to aspire to be. Fair play. The man created a fine business. He did sell it and in his prime, but he did. But the best bit is Natsuki walks up to Colonel Sanders quietly and calmly. He points at the photo of Colonel Sanders and he says, "Too much junkie business." And that's it. That's the end of the scene. And it's just such a weird, so many surreal things in that room. The room of alcohol, Colonel Sanders, too much junkie business. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
Chunky business or junkie? Oh, junk food business. Too much junkie business.
Yeah. Junk food, right.
That's a lovely little play on words, though, because like monkey business, isn't it?
It's Natsuki, he says a lot of things. And if you film Natsuki for 1 hour, a lot of it will be very odd things. But then there's like that 10% of gold and too much junky business. That was the gold. That was the highlight of the entire journey across Japan.
Get him streaming, for crying out loud. We were driving back. I wasn't actually in the car actually, but my partner was in the car driving back from Canberra Sands. We had a weekend in Canberra Sands for our birthday.
And used to go there as a kid.
And she heard my daughter saying, "Dada," or "Dad."
Too much chunky business.
Too much chunky business, Dada, and pointing at something, and it was Colonel Sanders.
Really,
Dada.
really,
yeah,
Aww.
Dada.
I'm getting hungry for KFC now. I haven't had KFC in a while. It would be just a ticket on a day like this. Add some cheeky KFC. KFC's not very good in Japan though, so.
It was better than having nothing, I suppose. What's your kind of like, because you don't get hungover very often, what's your kind of go-to, like, really greasy hangover meal, loads of, like, carbs?
I mean, I am craving a KFC now. The problem is in Japan they don't have gravy with the chicken, right? And the KFC without gravy, what's the point, you know? It's like having a drink that's not alcoholic. It just doesn't make sense in this crazy world. No, I don't know what I'm going to eat, actually. I think I had a bit of toast earlier. Toast is the secret, is it not, to hangovers? It soaks up all the awful.
Some lovely buttery toast, maybe with a bit of jam on there. That'd probably help, I suppose. Yeah, the butter is the key, though. The butter is the key.
The buttered toast. You can't be beat. You can't be beat. We're back in just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments, and questions over in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
Quite, meat and potatoes emails. Basically, Tom says, "Hi guys, I'm booked to go to Japan in September. I'm torn between which is the best district in Tokyo to stay in, Shinjuku and Ueno. I last went to Japan in 2016. Back then I stayed a few nights in Shinjuku on arrival before spending a few weeks venturing south to return to Tokyo and staying in Ueno. Both places I thought were great, so I'm struggling to make a decision this time round. Thanks for your advice, Tom. I'll take this one because Chris is dying. It quite simply has to be Shinjuku.
What
do you want out of a city? What? Well, I'm saying Shibuya, but he seems to be asking Ueno or Shinjuku. It's got to be Shinjuku. If you want to see, you don't want the quiet, bucolic, in the very small idea of a city being bucolic, Ueno. You need the noise, you need the filth, you need the rats, you need the ramen on every corner. You need Shinjuku. Tom, my friend, I think we've made your decision for you. Let's strike that Ueno with a greasy marker right through and get yourself to Shinjuku, Tom, because it's just the best.
I mean, why not mix it up though? You know, when I used to come to Tokyo, I did stay around in various locations. I think why not? You could try Shibuya if you like rats and Phil. Shibuya's the place. I mean, you always stay in Shibuya. You showed me the apartment you stay in on Airbnb last time.
Yes,
you were over here.
Idyllic.
It's idyllic's not the word I would have chosen. It's in the middle of like the filthiest love hotel district in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. Why do you choose that place? What's going on?
Near a strip club.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking dodgy old place. It's
yeah, it really is dodgy. But it's just in the middle of everything. You can get to Shibuya. Shibuya's a really good train station to sort of be near and stuff. You can get to everywhere you need to be. But it's also on the hill as well. So if you need to pick up a taxi, you can kind of head into sort of Nichome and sort of down that way sort of thing. Kind of works as well. So yeah, it's quiet, but not that quiet.
I suppose it's kind of for you. It's sort of like takes you back to Soho when you lived in the middle of bloody Soho,
exactly.
Right? You get the thrills, the Japan version. We got a question from Jimmy from Canada. He says, "Hello, Pete and Chris. I love the podcast and channel. Thank you very much, Jimmy. It's what motivated me, to travel to Japan and explore areas outside of Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. I'll be visiting Japan again this year, and the one thing I've not been able to crack yet is meeting and talking with the locals and other tourists. I'll be visiting Lost Bar for sure. Very good. But I was wondering, are there other areas to meet locals or fellow travellers? Love the work you guys do. Jimmy from Canada. I mean, there are meetups that happen. There's a fair few meetups going on in Tokyo. But a lot of hostels have kind of bar areas, don't they, where you can sit and talk to folks. I would say that honestly, have a few drinks and go to a little izakaya pub where the locals all sit around a bar counter. It's usually at the bar counter where you talk to people, right? It's where, where the chef is calmly cooking something, preparing some food behind the counter, that you can sort of sit, talk to them, have a drink, and interact with people. It's always the counters. That's the place to do it, right, Pete? Like
massively.
Was it you went to Niigata? And I remember you sat at the counter, you sent me like a photo of yourself at some counter, and a somewhat scared-looking Japanese woman trying to throw you out the window.
How dare you? How dare you? None of that happened. They said I look like a footballer, thank you very much.
Did they actually?
Because I had curtains.
Very good.
So they look like a footballer. And because there was no football nearby, I could not disavow them of that fact.
You do look a bit like David Seaman with the moustache.
And moustache and the ponytail. Yep.
Very good, very good. We got one over from Bill, who says, "Hello, Chris and Pete. You've recently completed the cyclothon. Congratulations. But would you recommend Japan for cyclists? I tuned into the stream and saw that sometimes you were quite close to busy traffic or going through precarious tunnels. On the whole, would you recommend Japan as a location for cycling holidays? Any particular areas top the list for idyllic locations? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I'd love to go to Japan as a keen cyclist. Thank you for all the work you do, guys." Bill from London. I'd say Japan is a very, very, very good place to be if you're a cyclist. Most people from an early age seem to commute to school on a bicycle. And so I find there's a lot of empathy and sympathy for cyclists in day-to-day life in Japan, because at some point everyone was a cyclist. I only died nearly one time on the cyclothon, as we talked about last week, and that was probably due to a blind spot on a lorry. Other than that, I feel very comfortable cycling here in a way that I would not be able to do back home. I think in the UK we have a sort of unreserved animosity towards cyclists, right? People always are very angry at them. They sort of project their anger onto the cyclists, and so I don't think I would cycle in the UK in a way that I do in Japan. You've never cycled here, though, have you? You're a man who travels by foot and car.
Only briefly in Kamakura. I think we had a little pootle around on a cycle on a cycle bike,
yeah.
and also when obviously we did the cycling from. That bit, is it Lake Biwa to Kyoto? I think it was. We went to with a dirty old soaking wet map. I for my birthday, the next door neighbour came round with a BMX for me, so I'm now the proud owner of a BMX as a older gentleman, let's say. So I've been scooting around on that. I tell you what. I've not been on a BMX for about 20 years. I used to love BMXing around Leicester back in the day when I thought I was
One
punk
absolute
rock.
lad.
And I'd pulled out the station and God, gears are good, aren't they? For getting up hills, gears are so good.
Gears
And
are
it's
good.
such a, like just on a 1-gear bike that's much too small for me, cycling up a hill, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking impossible. This is a nightmare.
People, Connor and Pete gave me some flack on the cycle because they said the bike was too small. To be fair, the bike is 1 to 2 sizes too small.
Right.
And Connor described it as a clown bike because apparently I look like a fucking clown riding this thing. It's funnily enough, after you left Journey Across Japan 1, right, where we did cycle from Lake Biwa to Kyoto, my bike broke a few days after you left. Maybe you sabotaged it while I wasn't looking, who knows. But the bike broke and it had like 18 gears on it, right? And Ian was like, don't worry, mate, I'll fix it. And we carried on. So we got another bike. We rented like another bike and carried on. And Ian travelled off to this shop near Himeji Castle to fix the bike. He took it into the bloke,
Right.
and the guy was like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll fix this. I'll have it fixed up by tomorrow. Come back and we'll have it done." And Ian was like, "Oh, good, thank you." Ian came back the next day, and the man had all he had to do was fix the bit that changes the gears, right? The little cable that goes on there, and instead he'd removed all the gears, and he was like, "Your bike now works." But he turned it into a BMX bike. He removed the 17
Taking all
gears.
the gears off.
I was just a fucking bike with a chain on. There was no gears anymore. And I'm like, mate, that's like a $3,000 bike. What have you
do
done? This man, he just chopped all the fucking gears off and didn't fix it at all. It's ridiculous. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, Ian was like mortified to get the bike back and be like, oh, okay, all the gears have appeared to have gone. And it's just like, I thought, what the fuck happened here? At what point do you think, oh, I'll fix it? Yeah, I know what to do. I'll remove all the gears. It's like fixing up a car and like removing the fucking steering wheel. It's made me so I had to get another bike. But yeah, and that was just straight after you left. It was all downhill from there, Pete, after you left.
Well, I'm glad it was downhill because I haven't got any fucking gears, mate.
But I will say, Bill, I recommend Lake Biwa, where Pete and I cycled. Actually, one of my favourite days of the entire cyclathon Journey Across Japan. And I really want to go back to Lake Biwa and do it again. There's, of course, the Shimanami Kaido. Hokkaido is a beautiful place to cycle. You're spoilt for choice, you really are. And even though I've just done the cyclathon 15 days, I still want to do more cycling this year. It never happens. The bike usually sits in a cupboard for a year and that's it. But this year I do want to do some things with it and I do want to cycle more, and maybe I'll go and find some places and share them with you here on the Abroad Japan podcast. But for now, guys, that is all. Thank you for sticking with us today as I meander my way through at a sort of semi-drunk state. I will be back less drunk, hopefully, next week. But for now, keep your stories, questions, comments coming into abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. And, have a good one. We'll see you bloody soon.